everybody. Welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast. Today we are joined by Leanor Ortega of Five Iron Frenzy and a lot of other cool things that she does. And we're going to talk about that today. This is her second time on the podcast, and we're excited to have her back. So, hi, how are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. It's Denver. It's sunny. There's snow on the ground. What else can you ask for?
I've never asked for any of those things, but I'm down for it. I do want to, I do want to go to Denver, but I'm from the southeast, where if there's an inch of snow, the whole world shuts down.
Yeah, no, we have inches and inches and inches of snow, and it would shut down if the sun didn't come and melt it away a bit. But what I like about Denver is every third day or so, the sun comes out, melts all the snow, and then it's just beautiful all over. Again, starts all over. It doesn't get like dirty, nasty, old snow.
Yeah, there's only been a snow in my area that tracks more than 3 inches, maybe 3 times in my life. So it's
you wouldn't last here, dude.
I had that thought too, like of places of that nature, because I've had some friends that have invited me more towards the Midwest in the winter. I'm like, we'll
yeah,
see.
Right.
Because I DJ'd a wedding in January of last year, and when I went, it was like 3 hours from my house, and it snowed the day of the wedding, which it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. But I had a little hatchback full of sound equipment.
No.
And it snowed. And again, North Carolina, we're scared of everything snow related. And my hotel was up, and they're like, all right, peace out, get out. And so like there's fresh snow, it's still snowing. And like my hotel's like, peace, get out of here. And so I drove back, and I didn't wreck my car, but
Sure.
I lost control of my car 3 times on the drive home.
Right.
Where I'm just like going 45 and it just spins and end up in a ditch, and like
Right.
made it in one piece, but it's just like, nah, I wouldn't make it too well. So right after the last time we talked, y'all announced the next album. You did the Kickstarter that went really well again.
Kickstarter that did well for Five Iron Frenzy. Can you believe it?
Yes.
No, I seriously, like, the first time my mind was blown. Then the second time my mind was, I don't get it. Same thing for the second time. We're like rushing to put up more items and more things this time. So I put Jeff the Girl Tours, which essentially, pre-COVID was the best idea in the world. Now it's kind of taking time to get those fulfilled. But it's basically, I'll show you around Denver, all the band houses we lived in, the places we played, hang out with you, the diners, all that stuff. And I put up like 5, and they went immediately. So I put up 10. That's crazy. Like, it's so much support, so much love. It's insane.
Well, after the first Kickstarter, I mean, you guys literally set records.
Yes, yeah, we did. We were like, what? Wall Street Journal, what up?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, y'all were set records, and and I say this with no shade towards other bands, but other bands of your original generation,
right,
followed suit, and without the same response. And
I know, it's crazy. And here's the thing, though. I have to be honest when I say that I am proud, though, of the albums we put out. Like, it wasn't just half-assing it, and it wasn't reproducing old albums or kind of doing any kind of shtick stuff. Like, we worked hard. That's why the albums take forever, because we are a democracy, and everybody gets a say, and everybody goes over the lyrics, and everybody goes over the bridge and the songs, and Scott's sending 5 different versions of bridges for us to vote over. And so we take it super seriously. So at the end of the day, we're really happy with our product. So at least people know that, like, when they support us, it's not just easy for us to do. It's work. And I feel good about what we put out.
When Engine of a Million Plots, I mean, it's coming near, like it was a Dark and Stormy Night. It's going to be 10 years old this year.
Wow.
Yeah, and Engine of a Million Plots is getting near there. The album is held up really well. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know Until It Shakes Apart is still new for a lot of people, and a lot of people really haven't tracked on it yet. They're still finding it, but Engine of a Million Plots really holds up solidly.
I took a big break from listening to it, so you're kind of reminding me to go back, because I listened to some of the songs that we play live a lot. We play Into Your Veins a lot. We play So Far. but we haven't. And I think we played Dark and Stormy, but I kind of took a break just even from listening to it, and it's time to like get that thing out and rock it again.
I've seen The Sun is still maybe my top
The
10.
end. What do you think of that? And you know what I have to say? No, this is what's funny for me. Jeremy, who mixed our album and mastered it, he put the saxophone, he produced it. He put the saxophone so high in that mix, which I love. But like at the end, that's the loudest part, I think, on the whole album for me. Like Into the Sun, it's like, or I've Seen the Sun, and it's like the saxophone is just, whoa. I like it though. I'm just
Right.
not used to being that showy.
Yeah. I mean, and it came off really well. And um I know that until the shakes parts, or until the shakes apart, I'll say this: the vinyl artwork
Mm-hmm.
is literally the most gorgeous vinyl artwork, like with the fire and the sleeve and the burned
I
dandelions. I mean,
know.
just like
Thank you, Unoriginal Vinyl. Yes, yes, yes. That
so.
came through. It took a long time because
Oh,
it comes from Europe, and with COVID, everything took forever. But again, beautiful. And the whole theme of I don't know if you noticed, but there's three different vinyls. So there's the green and the gray and the bright oranges. And so the green represents, well, I should go in the right order. So the gray is the ash of the city getting burnt down.
okay.
And then no, it starts with the oranges. So the fire, right?
Yeah.
Fire, everything's on fire. Then the ash, but then the green is the regrowth of
Okay.
everything, and how beautiful things can be after the purge, essentially, after things get kicked around and there's a rebirth. Kind of makes me think of like Eden too, to go deep for a bit there.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Um, and I was at a well, for several shows I did Comic Cons this summer. I
Mm,
wore either my Until the Shakes Apart shirt or hoodie, and
mm-hmm.
people would be like, "Is that a Five Iron Frenchy shirt?" And I met one of your friends at the show in Charlotte,
Oh, cool.
the poet Darren, maybe,
Alan?
or Alan. Yes,
Yeah, Alan the Fisherman. Oh,
Alan the
yeah.
Fisherman. And like he saw me walking through the show wearing your shirt, and he pulled me aside and we talked about Five Iron for a
Mm,
while as well. And then I didn't realize it when I did it, but I did a con that was next to a seminary.
mm.
And so like people saw my Five Iron shirt and like we're like, all right, let's talk about this. And like
You could get like a good response or that album. I mean, it's divisive, and I think that's good.
and that was the thing. Like people that recognized it was a Five Iron shirt
Mhm.
that were just excited, oh, I love Five Iron. But then
But this album is so angry.
it's as I had seminary students like, I'm concerned about this, and
I'm praying for them.
and
I like how you said that. I'm concerned about this.
there's some people that were genuinely like, I don't like this direction. And I'm just like, listen, the one thing I said is this album, and this is my opinion, obviously I don't know what y'all said on it, was like, this album reflects life in the last 2 years and is a very strong picture of that. And I was like, you
If you're
can't.
concerned, you should be. Not about just the band. Don't waste your time thinking about the band. Look around at your neighbors. Look around at the government. Look around at the situation. Look around at the world. It is disturbing. We should be disturbed.
By the way, how do you pronounce the last song title?
What song is it?
It's Hueferna or
Oh,
something.
huerfano. Huerfano is it means orphan in Spanish.
Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. I am a very
it's okay.
bad Hispanic family member.
It's okay.
Um,
No, but what's interesting about that song is so Reese sent us a text, and he said he wanted to do a song about bullying. And he said, and it was just a text, not an email. So we had to go kind of, in text, you don't share the whole story. But he said, everybody share a little bit about a time you've been bullied. And everybody did. Boom, 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 boom. And he wrote a song, and all those examples are from different people in the band.
oh wow,
So it makes it sound like one person, but they're all true. Like the punk rock hair one was me.
I
Um,
figured.
yeah. Um, but yeah, we all have different stories that were like, ouch, ouch, ouch.
That one I think is my favorite track for the album.
Mhm.
Like I think that one just really hits me really well. But
Yeah. Can I tell you one more secret about it?
please, love it.
So Scott sent it out, and I'm like token hardcore girl in the band. Like I listen to a lot of punk and hardcore, like, you know, Veil and Hot Water Music and stuff like that. And I'm the one who wrote those shout outs. Punk rock hair and you belong. Like I was like, they have to go in there. I was like, I can't record it. It can't be my voice. So I was like, you guys have to do it all beefy, like dudes, you know, but it has to be there. Like I listen to this kind of music and that's where it fits. And Scott
And
was like, we'll try it. And I was like, yeah, just you don't try it. That's where it goes, dude. I felt so good about that.
and it is perfect. That is exactly how it should be.
Because that's how it would be at a show. And that's how you almost envision doing it at a show, right? Like in the pit, like, oh.
My kids do that in the back seat. So like
good. Okay. Good.
they'll literally be like, because two of them, you know, are close to teenagers now, and they'll be on their phones. My youngest one will be doing something else, won't be singing any of the rest of the song. They'll just be like, "Punk rocker," and just go right back down to it.
Well, question two, like for that album, are there any other songs that you are your favorites? Because I've been surprised because I haven't talked a ton about this album. We've talked a bit about it, but it's always interesting to me to hear what people gravitate towards. Because for me, when I first hear a song, I might not like it, and then later it's my favorite. That's what always happens. I don't know why.
To me, I gotta check the song order, but it's the last two songs are my favorite. On what the order is.
Oh, okay. So then the other one is about the oil guy. Is it Wildcat?
Yes.
Yes. And that song is poignant too, because it has the line that is I did another podcast and I talked about that, but it has the line, the redeeming line about what does it say? The cracks are where the light.
The wound is where the light shines in.
The wound is where the light shines in.
And
look at your smile.
Yes, that's my favorite.
I love that line. I love that line.
I do love. And Switchfoot has a whole album title of that, where the light shines through. And,
and like Leonard Cohen came up with the concept too. And like it's a biblical concept, but it's the idea of like, who wants to make an album that's a total downer? And so that's where I challenge people when they say this is all negative, this is all angry. And it's like, is it? I don't know.
Oh, and my other favorite one was like Something I Missed. That one is like warm fuzzies for me. Yeah, it's just the that I need a low dose of you believing in me. Like I'm like,
I need a low dose of you believing in me. Ouch, but beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and the thing with the angry end of it is I identified with all of the angry portions. It's just like it's not a criticism. My only thought was like, man, this really is a 2020 21 album. And I'm like,
yeah.
So I wasn't unhappy with the album. I was unhappy with the time and some of the seasons.
It's so funny too how some people got so upset. We called it Assgate because Reese put the word ass in one of the songs about, you know, something about adults, and it's kind of immature, but he was just trying to be cheesy, you know, and funny. And people really got upset. And I don't know, I'm on the fence about it. I am on the fence about it. I know I have a couple friends that have said, can you please get me a clean version? And I'm like, I would love to, but how much work is that? And I don't know if our producers would do it. I don't know, you know, how do we get around to that? And then it's also like, well, just get over it. I don't know. It's a hard one.
And so my oldest daughter is a musical like nerd on a lot of things, and she's poured through these albums with me. And so like when that came out, like, and we actually listened to the whole album together, her thought was like, it's a weird choice that would be the first song they use profanity on.
I know, because there's angry songs, right?
There's all these other angry songs. There's so many other opportunities. Like, you know, because it's like there's that meme concept of every PG-13 movie is allowed one F word. And they're like, if that means Lord of the Rings could have one, so where would you drop it in that?
Oh, yes. Gollum.
Yeah. And so it's stuff like that. But you're like, if you were to give me a 5-Iron Frenzy song, that would be
with an F word?
Or no, I'd stick with just any profanity. But yeah, either any one. But like, because even I remember like with Brave Saint Saturn days, having to like edit that.
I
for
hated that they edited that. He said, go to hell. It was about a man that was hurt and angry and broken. And he was saying it was a character in a song saying it. So that's also where there's a bit of a, well, I used to go to Scum of the Earth Church, and that's the church that Five Iron founded back in the day. Came out of our Bible study. And we had a Christmas Eve service where we would do poetry for Christmas Eve. And my best friend at the time, her name is Mary Kate, and she was going to read a poem about juvenile delinquents, basically, that she was working with. And she didn't call them that, but where they were saying the F word over and over and over. And she was going to read it during Christmas Eve. And so the elders of the church, which, we're a bunch of rat tat punk rockers and whatnot, but we had a little board group, and they're a little older than us at the time, probably just 30s. And they're like, do we let her use the F word in the Christmas Eve service? And they did. And they did. And the reason they did is they said, we would rather have Kate and the people who like this poem and understand this poem coming to church. There's a million other places people could go on Christmas Eve if they don't like this kind of stuff. But who's going to be a safe place for people that need this raw honesty, this brokenness? And some people left the church over it.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can see it. Mm-hmm.
Working in pastoral ministry for the last hot minute and everything else, I get it completely. I know that, if I did it on my Christmas Eve service, I'd definitely face some percussions. But
I'm kind of proud that it happened, because it's one of those things where if we can't get down and dirty and raw, like even like the album, like what we're talking about, if we censor ourselves too much, it's like when you watch the news, you're not censored, to be honest. And then when your music is going to be censored too much and not help you wrestle with things in a challenging way, come on, let's just go there.
There was, because my youngest now is about to turn 10. And so like we were always really careful on like musical of like what we like let her hear language wise and everything. And then during the pandemic, my kids watch Hamilton. And it's just like, at that point,
it's spicy.
It's spicy. And
very.
And I'm like, we bought the clean album, but
still the themes are spicy. The themes are the concepts. The reality of life is spicy.
And even the clean version is not a clean version. And so it's just like, I was just like, so like there'll be times where I'm like, y'all have watched Hamilton, or and that's been my going thing. I was like, you're not going to unhear this stuff. I was just like, make good life choices. And
well, my kids now, so I have a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old. Well, she's almost 15 next week. And they always fight over my music. Let me put in my music, which means plug in their phone to the car, so we can all hear it. And they'll go, oh, this one has a bad word. Well, they censor it for me, for mom. They'll tell me, they're like, she won't like this. But they know they're not going to get in trouble anymore because they know they're listening to it. And I'm like, I was. So it's kind of like, but they understand, my mom, I remember one time I said, why do you let me listen to stuff that has cuss words? And she goes, well, you don't cuss. She goes, if you did, I'd stop letting you listen to it. I was like, oh, okay.
And that's at this point, my oldest is turning 15 in about 3 weeks. I've never heard her use profanity,
right?
Like in any capacity. And, I'm not saying she doesn't, but I've never heard it. And, and she's in the last few months, she's become a Swiftie, and like
Swiftie.
That's a Taylor Swift fan.
Oh, look at me. I don't even know.
But like, that's the thing, Taylor stuff, from what I've now learned, started out bubblegumish, and now like the last 3 or 4 albums are raw and like F-bombs all over the place. And I'm like,
oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's explicit lyrics on all the last 4 of her albums.
I'm shocked. Wow.
And they're not, and it's one
Taylor
of those
Swift and Two Live Crew.
Woo! Yeah. It's gone pretty crazy. Just listen to it and just like, oh, but it's not like frivolous. And that's always been the same thing with like Mumford and Sons has been one of my favorite bands for a while. They've dropped one song on every album they put out where that one song has the F word in it and there's no other profanity on the rest of the album. And
well, maybe Five Iron just needs to do that and get it over with and get our fans desensitized. I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate that when I say that.
Absolutely. Because they're still, but the statement you made about you would want people that would connect with something that's a little more raw. That's what you're
Mhm,
there for.
mhm,
Um, and when I was doing the first Faith and Fandom book, I had a conversation with Lifeway, because they were interested in it,
mm,
but not like we're gonna commit yet. And
right.
they gave me a list of like, if we're gonna do it, you got to remove these things.
Edits.
There was the edits, and one of the things was there was a chapter on Breaking Bad in there,
Oh, sure, sure, sure,
and
sure.
they're like, you got to get this out of here.
Yeah.
And Grand Theft Auto was the other one,
Oh, well,
and
yeah.
they're like, I'm like, no, I was like, this
Man,
needs to be
here's
in
my
there.
book. Yeah.
And so a few years later, I was at some event with Sidewalk Prophets or and some other folks, and like there was a mom buying music books for her kids, and
Mm-hmm.
she's looking through the chapter list, and she's like, Grand Theft Auto 5. Why would you have a Bible study on that? And I'm like, and
Yeah,
north
losing it.
of she's north of 50, and she has a 14-year-old kid. And I just said, hey,
Yeah.
does your 14-year-old child play Grand Theft Auto 5?
No.
And she's like, yes. I was like,
Oh,
and
that.
I was like, did you buy it for him? And she's like,
Oh,
yes. And I was
oh,
like, all right, would you rather him find something encouraging in it or just pretend like it didn't happen?
how interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And so
Okay.
it's always a line, and
Sure, 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 sure.
if you're trying to actually stay on that line of
Mm-hmm.
making everybody happy, you're
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think it is, I think the band was, oh, Pink Floyd. And I read a quote once that said, writing for the fans is the fool's game.
mm.
And sometimes people will, when I do interviews and they're like, did you pick how many ska songs, how many old school ska songs, how much punk rock songs, how much, kind of like easy listening, how much, and I'm like, for the fans. So we like the album kind of balance. And I'm thinking, we don't ever think about the fans. No, no concept. It's like, what do we like? What music do we like? What songs do we like? What groove do we like? What horn parts do we like? What subject matter do we like? It's kind of like, if I wouldn't listen to it, I wouldn't, it's not like a balance. We don't go over it like that. It's more musical and more, I don't know, it's intentional, but it's not for fans because you don't know. Everyone likes different things.
and and when you're actually creating for yourselves, it has a more authentic feel with everything you do anyway.
Absolutely. I would hate to get on stage and play a song that we hated. Like that it wouldn't even come to fruition because we wouldn't write it.
So since we've talked, you've played 2 shows
Yeah, we
as
need
Five
more.
Iron Frenzy.
We need
And
some more, but we will.
you've
But
been
yeah,
playing
we
you
played two awesome shows though.
yeah. And I was really sad because like I'd mentioned to you about the or I'd mentioned to somebody about not wanting to go to the festival in Georgia or Alabama because
Furnace Fest,
yeah.
Alabama.
Yeah, I was like, I'll only be going for you guys, and it wouldn't be super
Mm,
fruitful just for
right.
that. And then I had my own thing on the September show. But how were the shows for you?
Amazing, amazing. The Denver show, I mean, playing Denver is awesome because our kids come and our best friends come. And it's, hometown, gothic, really fun. And I'd never met the Planet Smashers. They're a very fun ska band from Canada. And a lot of them just spoke just French, which was really cool too. Um, MXPX has worked a lot with them. And so, yeah, sharing the stage with them was fun. It was a fun show. It was no drama. It was good to see everybody. And then we had a nice practice. Everyone flew in on Thursday and Friday. We had practices, went out to eat, had a birthday party for Andy and Sunny. It was their birthday. So honestly, just the getting together and seeing each other is so much also a part of our band. And then Furnace Fest was insane. I didn't know it was going to be that awesome. It was amazing. Avail, Stretch Armstrong, Sunny Day Real Estate, like watching the bands was just as cool as playing. Newfound Glory, like there were so many bands. Under Oath. It was like some old school Christian stuff, some hardcore stuff, a lot of metal stuff I'd never heard before. And then Sunny Day, just some really beautiful, big time stuff, hanging out, enjoying each other's company. The backstage was air conditioned. We sat around a big table and chatted. So cool. So good.
Are there future tour plans or anything coming up?
It doesn't really work like that. Like we have a booking person, booking team, and they work with us and we figure out our schedules and come up with it. They're not really tours, they're usually flyouts, like two spots in a row, usually a Friday and a Saturday within driving distance.
Yeah.
We don't have anything right now, but yeah, we're in the works on getting it. We all want to and we're all ready to. So it's just when our schedule and when something works out for us. Because again, like another thing that is lame is we're expensive just because we have 8 people plus a sound person, plus, flights, hotel rooms, renting cars, merch, getting the merch out there. We're not a cheap band to book. It'd be cooler if, somehow we could bring our costs down a bit, but we're pricey. But I think it's worth it. I think it's fun. But I think the logistics of a ska band has got to be a nightmare compared to like a 4-person band.
Yeah. And that's just been one of my last things is like, I just need my kids to see you guys live at some point.
Okay, definitely. Well, we're not going to stop for a long time. We have no, and the joke is now, and I say it, but it's also like it was a joke like a few years ago, and now it's getting like, ay, ay, ay. I'll be in this band when I'm on menopause at some point. I turned in October, I turned 46, which is nuts to think I'm in the band at this age. And like, we're all, getting up there, but it's fun. And you see a lot of bands our age now too. Like a lot of the bands like Mustard Plugs coming through, and you see Mephscopheles and a lot of these bands, even Less Than Jake, they're kicking it and people aren't getting any younger, but it's fun.
Mm. So my wife will already gone through menopause by the next time we see you. So
Oh, it's going to be very interesting touring, like, and everyone's like graying and balding and just, we're at some point, it's just ridiculous, but why not? When you can, why not?
I have one more 5-iron question for you.
Okay.
What is there a song that you want to be written that hasn't been written yet? Like, is there something you want 5-iron to make a song about, or anything that you feel like is missing from y'all's catalog?
Oh my gosh, that's heavy. I mean, we kind of talked about the migrant issue. We've kind of talked about gun control. We've talked about I we've talked a lot about brokenness, but I think that I don't know. I don't know. I can't say because we write from what happens to us in our lives. And so I think the most beautiful thing, what I like that we do is that it's Reese. Reese's lyrics is often looking at an issue, but then looking inward. So I'm curious to see in his life, I guess, becoming an empty nester. We haven't really written, as our kids get older, our parents are starting to age, and some parents of band members have passed away now, which is tragic. And that might lead to, some really heavy lyrics. And I think of that song by Jimmy Eat World, the Angels song, When Angels Bring You Home or whatever. But just songs like that, more about death, maybe more about loss. But I find I'm an optimist. So I think songs about encouragement or rebirth or coming back or things like that, that's more of what I like to see in our catalog. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens in our lives.
Songs about loss and things like that really are good connection points, but I do think we need like solid hope anthems as well. And that's one of the things I've loved about 5-iron for years, is that you've got a good mix of here's some pain, here's some hope,
and
like,
it could be in the same song, like Blue Cone.
it can be. And I had a really good connection moment of over some loss issues, because both of my parents have passed. And uh are you familiar with Cameron Crowe?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit.
They made a Broadway play of Almost Famous.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Almost Famous is my favorite movie ever. And
Love it.
Elizabethtown is in my top whatever, but it's my go-to grieving movie.
Okay.
Because it deals with loss of parents and stuff like that, and it helped me mourn the loss of both my parents in a healthy way. So I heard there's going to be an Almost Famous musical on Broadway. Literally bought a ticket to the opening night. Flew in. I've never seen a Broadway play. I was there 18 hours
Wow.
flat. Flew in, ate some food, went to the show, and
Amazing.
it was awesome. But I was running out trying to get on the subway to get back to my hotel, and
Mhm.
Cameron Crowe was just in the back of the room, and
Wow.
so I was trying not to start like a mob, but it's like, sir, I just need you to know that your movies have changed my life.
Mm.
And he said, and he's like, oh, thanks. And he was just kind of like, carry on. And
Yeah.
but I just said, and I told him Elizabethtown helped me get through the death of both of my parents.
Mm.
And so and what I didn't realize at that point until that his mom had just passed away in May.
Oh.
And so he literally grabbed me by the shoulder and
Oh.
said, "Not everybody gets Elizabethtown, but we get Elizabethtown." And
Oh.
he took a photo with me, and I was just like,
What? There you
it,
go.
and
That's cool.
it's just that thing of like
Mhm.
when you feel that empathy connection, it makes a big difference. And so, but I think that's one of the things Five Irons done so beautifully is they've created a lot of good connection points across
Mhm.
the years. Um,
I mean, writing Car for me was that's about my brother passing away. And the music, so the song, Micah had written it, and it was one of those things where it's not musically something I understand very well. It's very technical, you know. The beat is very technical and the time signature is very technical. But I did my best and I think it came out okay and raw, but the song that I think that I did the best of capturing loss is All That Is Good. Like that was the loss of some of my friends' faith and just trying to stand up for them and explain that we are, do all streams lead to one sea was the big question of our 20s, right? Like, especially when you're a believer and you're going to a secular college and you're falling in love with non-Christians and you're, finding your way. And just the idea of like, the loss is the loss of innocence in that song.
mm, that's awesome. That's a bigger picture on that song than I realized. Um,
Okay.
that's I've always enjoyed it, but I didn't.
It's about Scott at the time. Scott had come out saying, he didn't think he was a Christian anymore. And that rocked us because one, because we were naive and young and non-Christian and a non-Christian idea of like someone in our band. Like, how do we protect him from the world and how do we protect the world from him? Like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen now to our group? And what happens when it's almost like these days, people drop like flies, deconstruction, and it's just the reality. And even marriages, dropping like flies.
Yeah.
And the idea of so much loss happening. And it's it's a challenge, but recognizing that you can still love people and not believe the same thing was the challenge for me to open up my heart to a bigger picture.
And I remember like, because I'm in y'all's age bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like I remember when like the whole thing with Scott being like publicly announced, because I know it wasn't initially publicly announced, like
Mm-hmm.
it rocked my world and
Oh
just a
yeah,
sense.
he wrote a whole statement and it was cool the way he did it. He wasn't afraid. You have to be true to who you are, but wow, it was yeah.
But I also think that's been something I've really enjoyed beautifully in the fact that you guys have like regelled and like come back together stronger, I feel like over the
Mhm.
years as well. So that's been really neat.
I'm closer to Scott and Andy now than I've ever been. They're my brothers and will always be.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, just because you mentioned it with your daughter. How is parenting teenagers going for you?
Oh. Well, I'll be honest. So in the beginning, it was hard. And I say in the beginning, because the beginning being we took them out of school and homeschooled them during the pandemic, which the pandemic for our family, and I hate to say this because I know so many people experienced so much loss, loss of careers, loss of health, loss of family members, loss. But the pandemic for us was beautiful in that we got to spend a lot of time together. So we live in a big house with my husband's parents. And so we had our own little pod. So we had my husband working from home, me working from home, the two kids being homeschooled, and my two nephews were homeschooled here too. So my mother-in-law, who is a teacher, homeschooled all the kids. She basically made like a one-room schoolhouse. And she had like fourth grade, seventh grade, ninth grade. I don't know how many grades going, like a bunch of them. And so all the cousins were together all the time. So after they went back to school, I felt like a sigh of relief that they got their friendships back, But oh my gosh, I mourned it because all of a sudden they came back as teenagers and I was like, where are my kids? Like children, where are my cuddlers? Where are my, they have their friends. My daughter's doing her makeup. She's on the phone. She's hanging out with friends. She's suddenly has so many different extracurricular, and I mourned that so much. And then my son's really into video games and worked his first job full time all summer. So where was he? Like the time thing
That's that's
was painful.
that's where I'm at right now. Like,
Mhm.
and it's been crushing me. Like, because
It was hard, but here's how we reset it. So it was hard in the beginning. Then for Thanksgiving break, we decided, and we also got lucky with a friend who works at Disney, but we got to go to Disneyland for 2 days during Thanksgiving break. So flying for 2 days there and back and being at Disney 2 days, that was so good for us. Just the time, just marinating in each other's time, walking around, being at the hotel, eating food. Like, and what I've learned since then is I've been very, very, very proactive about family dinners when they don't have activities and board games and going to the zoo the other day. We went to the zoo and went to a Greek diner. Just kids' love language is food. And when we're buying them good food, they just hang around and just don't complain. Sometimes we go to movies, but food is the way, like sitting around at a restaurant, waiting and just chilling and eating. I know it's going to be expensive while they're teenagers, but I feel like it's an investment, right? It's almost like dating, right? You have to like the money is like worth it for that time and for that interaction and for those smiles. And so we're just kind of bribing our kids with food and board games and trying to hang out a little bit as we can and then giving them a big break when we can.
my oldest turned 14 last February, so she's about to turn 15, and like that instant transition of
Instant. I know. With
we
girls.
didn't we didn't allow her to have a smartphone until she turned 14. The minute the smartphone hit, shift, like the constant communication with her friends, the chatting.
Snapchatting.
No
Snapping.
Snapchat, no snapping
Okay.
yet. I'm sure that's coming, but she has an art Instagram because she does
Okay.
graphic art, and then
Okay.
she has her own. And like the fact that her friends follow me on Instagram now,
Oh, that's
they're
weird.
and like they're like, oh, I saw your dad post this, and I'm like, now I'm having to be careful what I post about, like on a parent level.
I hear
uh
you.
and but just like then she hit high school, and
Hmm.
instantly high school, marching band three
Same with
nights
my
a week.
daughter. Marching band takes so like that was the biggest thing. It was like I felt like I was her personal assistant. Did you feel like that when
I
it comes to
did.
marching band? I'm
uh
giving you rides, I'm making your meals, I'm doing your laundry, I'm paying the bill.
like parades every other week, football games
Mhm.
all the time.
Mhm.
And and then a boy came into the picture, and
Oh,
he's in marching band, and he's a cool kid, and they're
sure,
friends, but like
sure.
that's a lot in one
We don't
time.
have
And
that yet. We have friends, but we don't have the drama of we want the drama. I'll say that. I'm not going to say much more because I'll get in big trouble, but
yeah.
we're pining for the relationships. Not me necessarily. Whatever, I'm cool with it. I'm open.
And so just like dealing with a boy hanging out at our house, or just getting in rides, and like, we're watching
You're doing
movies and
the
stuff.
right thing. You're doing the right thing. Because my parents, I mean, God bless them, but I wish that our house was the house to hang out at.
Yeah.
Would have been a little better.
And then she finishes her driving portion of driver's ed today.
Hmm.
So it's
My
just like,
son's driving. Yep.
so it's been a
Here
fun
you.
parenting experience.
I had
Uh,
a really cool feeling today, though. I dropped off the kids at school and I just had this. I said to myself and I said to God, I was like, well, we're on a new path. We're ramping up to them leaving. And I felt that today when I dropped them off from school. It's like, we're doing the right things. We're doing it. We're busting ass. We're getting it done and making them love each other and letting them know they're loved and love others. And that's all we can do for the next couple of years, right?
yeah. And I was just like, I didn't think I was here yet, but man, it's just
Ah,
coming full steam.
you're there.
So you have recently begun a new journey with prison chaplaincy, and
Yes, my
let
new
let's
job.
let's talk about that, because I'm excited about that. What's that
Okay,
look
I'm
like for you?
excited about that. Well, for a long time, I kind of was, well, I worked at Scum of the Earth Church for 16 years, and I started as a curator of an art gallery, and then eventually did women's ministry and mentoring, and definitely found my footing in preaching, and I love preaching. I really do. It's awesome. And yeah, so I was comfortable doing that. And then when I turned about 40, I felt that I should, well, it was sudden. And all of a sudden I was like, I think I'm going to leave Scum of the Earth. And I was like, you are not thinking that. Like, you love Scum of the Earth. And I do, but I decided to leave so that I could do sacred things outside of church walls.
Yeah.
Because it was a good life, and it was a good career, and it was a good, I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird career, but I have to raise my own support. But it is a career. It's a choice of how I, spend my time. It's that or a different job. And I decided to go into basically, like, I guess we call it urban shepherding. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like a pastor at large. Like, I do premarital counseling. I work at an apartment church. I do a lot of outreach, help with a lot of clothing and food banks, connecting the dots between churches that need and churches that have. And also I was doing a lot of volunteering at the women's prison. And so I did that for about 7 years. And the last 3 with the goal of becoming a chaplain. Once I learned what chaplains did, and once I learned the access they have to the offenders and the impact they can have in their lives, I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. So the chaplain that is there now, she's a wonderful lady. She's an Episcopalian priest, and she is, she's aging out of her career, and basically said to me 3 years in, I don't want anyone to have my job, but maybe you could have my job. And then last year, she basically said yes. And so I did all the training, which was a couple months through the prison. And it's a lot of training. And now, yeah, I'm an official. I have a job with the state of Colorado as an associate chaplain. And so that's interesting because the prisons want faith workers. They need them, but they don't pay them. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting thing. And they'll even say, we have expectations. Well, no, they don't say expectations. They say we have, no, do they say? They say basically they have hopes for us, but they have expectations, but they can't enforce them. Like, we want you to come in this many hours. We need this from you. Our population needs this from you. Our society needs this from you, but we don't pay you. So figure it out, which is cool because I raise support to do it. But it is new also to have this feeling of like authority within the prison, like to have my keys and my laminate and my, my presence. Do you know who Nadia Boltzweber is?
No.
She's an author, and she's a Lutheran priest, and she does ministry there, and she is a presence. I mean, she's really tall, and she wears all black, and she wears the white collar when she does, her meetings. And it was so interesting because yesterday I was in the prison, and I, right now they're low on staffing like everybody else. So I'm in a smaller like weight room in the gym, and I have about 40 offenders with me and 4 volunteers, and I'm the chaplain. And then she had the whole gym, and she had speakers, and she had a crew going. And it's just a cool feeling to be like, a lot of cool women are going in there and bringing the word and bringing hope and bringing prayer and encouragement. And man, I felt good because when you show up, you don't know how many people are going to come, and people don't have to come. It's not like classes or like, sobriety classes. It's with chapel. It's like, do you want to go? And I had like I said, I had a big crew. It was awesome. And then like we started, and more people kept coming, and I had to get more chairs, and I was like, yeah, this is rad. It's good. Sorry, I'm excited.
No, I'm excited for you.
I do like it. It's heavy, but it's beautiful.
With the heavy,
Sure.
what do you do to not carry the weight of the heavy with you through the rest of the time?
There's a few different things. So the first thing that helps with the heavy, when you're a pastor of a church, or a women's pastor, anything like that, you have the cell phone. And so people are calling you in the middle of the night. People are evicted. People are having a domestic situation. People are struggling with their faith. They come to your home. They're in your lives. You're babysitting their kids. You're at the hospital when they need you. With the prison, they can't. You go home, you take the heavy, but they don't have your phone number. They don't have your address. There is that physical separation, that space. So that helps, I guess I would say, because you can pray for them, but you can't contact them. So there's off hours, which I like, I'll be honest. And that's part of why I chose this career in my second part of life, was because I did that kind of pastoring life when the kids were in elementary school. And so many evenings, there were Bible study evenings, there's, board meetings at the church, there's this, there's that. So many evenings I was with church, too much, probably. Too much. So now that the kids are teenagers, I decided to, I made a decision when the kids were little, instead of doing like what my mom did, and I love my mom, she didn't do anything wrong, but a lot of people, their career starts slow and then they ramp it up. And then when their kids are teenagers, they're all work. I decided to do opposite, right? Like I'll be super busy when their needs are tiny, and then now that they're high school, basically after 4 p.m., I'm trying not to work too much.
That's awesome.
Same with weekends. So that helps. And then the other thing that helps is, I guess it just helps knowing that there is a little, it's so weird to say this, but I will say, this is the first time I've publicly gotten to say this. And I wanted to say it because I wanted to tell the community out there, you know how there's a yard when you watch prison movies, there's a yard. It's the big green area and everybody's walking to and fro. Some people are in handcuffs because they're coming or going. Some people are, they train dogs at the prison. Some people are new. Some people are going to chow, whatever. Do you know the number one phrase I hear yelled across the yard?
No.
I love you. It's fascinating. The women in there, especially the ones that need each other, find the ones that need each other. I love you. And you hear across the yard, I love you too. Call, I'll see you later. I love you. And certain ones don't live in the same units, but it's so all the time. Every time I go, I hear, I love you.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome. I wouldn't have thought. And so I rest assured knowing there's a little community in there, and God bless them. There's one woman in there. It's been there 26 years and she's a lifer and she loves the Lord. She's always bringing people to Bible study. I can't fathom. I cannot fathom. I can't fathom. I sat last night, I was thinking, and I write in a journal when I get home, and I was like, the things that make me sick to my stomach, because you know how that is, right? When you do ministry?
Yeah.
Is that there is one pair of pants. They all wear the same pair of pants. And we're talking over 1,000 women. They're given 5 bras. There's 3 types of shoes to choose from. And to be honest, the other thing that is stark and in your face when you show up, some of them, they make themselves look nice, right? But we're talking, when you look at society, how many women dye their hair?
Yeah,
all of us.
Yeah.
When you go to the prison, how many women are gray? Or there's 3 kinds of glasses they can pick from, and not contacts, or their teeth. They don't get, it's stark. Women, we rely so much on this, on beauty, so much money, so much time. And when you take that away, what do women look like? It is humbling. It is humbling to see that has been taken from them. And yet they walk with the dignity and the beauty that they're God-given beauty, right?
Mm.
But
Wow.
it is in your face. These are just the things that I've noticed that I didn't realize. And then all of a sudden you're going, everyone has the same 3 glasses. They have 3 kinds to pick from. And we're talking, like I said, over 1,000 women. See, it makes me sick to my stomach. It's good, but it's hard. It's good. And then here's the other thing. I just want to end on a good note talking about the prison, right? The majority of women that I've met aren't there super long, right?
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing, is I see them and then they go, well, I'm putting in my papers. I won't see you, Chaplain Ortega. I won't see you. And I said, all right, won't see you. They're like, I'm going back to where my family's from. Won't see you. And next week I come and they're gone. And I don't say goodbye and I don't get to see them again. And we did a prayer and everyone prayed and we said goodbye and don't ever see them again. They're gone. And you just rest with that. Okay, that was cool. It's a very, this is where I'm here. This is where I'm here with you. And then someone else will be there for you, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different kind of ministry entirely.
Well, that's one of the things that I've seen so often is like, you know, prison ministry is one of the ministries that Jesus specifically mentions.
Mm,
Like, you know, of all the ministries that exist now, that's one of the
mm,
ones he mentioned by name.
mm,
And it's one of the ones I feel like the church does the least with as a
mm.
whole.
Well,
Like,
part of that's true, but part of the problem with the prison system, and I'm not going to say it's easily remedied, is you can't just have anybody going in. And that's why I'm grateful to do this, because I got asked to do prison ministry 10 years, no, longer than 10 years ago. Well, basically, a woman came up to me at a coffee shop and we started chatting, and she found out I was a Christian and she said, I do prison ministry. Would you like to do it with me? And I had two little kids at the time. And I said, I would love to, but no. I put her phone number in my phone. And 7 years later, I called her and I said, do you remember me? And she said, yeah. And I said, I'm ready. So the kids are in full-time school and I feel healthy and ready and capable. And she was on my team yesterday. Like, yeah, it was a season and I knew it. I knew it. You cannot go into it as a vulnerable person.
yeah.
But for those of us who can do it, and I guess I would say that to any listeners, for those of you who could do it, who find yourself in a healthy space, mentally, physically, emotionally, they definitely are always looking for volunteers. You have to do training and you have to commit. But if you do your training and commit, there is a need. In Denver, they call it faith and citizens programs. And yeah, there's Quakers in there. There's, they have God Behind Bars, which is more of a like Red Rocks church, like the Calvary kind of thing. They have yoga. They have, yesterday they had a Native American drum circle. I mean, faith and citizen groups is comprised of everybody. And then the offenders can sign up for what suits them.
So you mentioned the lady that had the whole gym full and everything had her specific outfit. Do you have a specific outfit you wear? Is there a uniform for you?
Well, in the beginning, when I first started coming to the prison, it was very strict on rules. So I had to go to Ross and buy clothes, which is because you couldn't wear jeans, you couldn't wear sneakers. So I had to get slacks, button-up blouses. The good thing is you can wear black. So there's certain colors you can't wear. Obviously, you can't wear green because they're wearing green, bright yellow. Who's going to wear it anyway? But you can't wear blue because that's what the correctional officers wear. So mostly patterns, but black is totally fine. So now recently, this last year after the pandemic, they said jeans are okay in good condition and athletic shoes are okay in good condition. But I got told I had to take my nose ring out and I'm so sad. I had a big old black nose ring. And then honestly, my red hair, it's in the rules that you're not supposed to, and I have full on, tattoos and stuff, but whatever, like everyone has tattoos. Like the majority of the women have, full on, and the police officers. So I don't dress like anything. I dress like myself. But the one thing I do have is a big old honking cross I wear.
Do
And
you?
yeah, and it's wooden. And the reason I wear it is I want to identify with Jesus. I want people to know I'm a Christian faith worker. Maybe they see those tattoos, maybe they see that dyed hair and they're like, oh, because everyone's kind of being like, what group should I go to? Who do I identify with? And I don't need to look like a priest because I'm not a priest, but it's like, yeah, I love Jesus. And my cross says on one side, I am counting on Christ. And on the other side, it says Christ is counting on me.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, no, right?
Um, that's awesome. I love that. So do you feel like this is going to be like long-term calling for you?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've talked to the lieutenant there, and I met the warden the other day and put my foot in my mouth. The warden's like the big cheese, right? And he had come into the one of the units where I was doing a chapel, and he was chatting with some of the offenders, and he was basically saying, they're going to build a huge chapel there. They have plans and they have seed money. So in 2024, there will be a chapel at the prison. And so I was chatting with him, and I was like, "Are you a chaplain?" And he's like, the lady started laughing, and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "He's the warden." And I was like, oh, "You're the one who approved me being a chaplain." And so I shook his hand, and it was like, "You're the boss." So it was cool saying hi to him. So I feel like in my 50s and maybe 60s, yeah, this will be. Who knows? I think being a prison chaplain, who knows? Maybe hospice chaplain.
Mm.
That's another thing where if I feel I could handle it and I feel like I can handle those kind of spaces, like this sounds maybe messed up, but you know how it is in ministry. Like you're desensitized enough to sit there with people. You have to be sensitive enough and desensitized enough. So that might be another space for me.
Thick skin without a hard heart. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, honestly, like I've been in a lot of hospice situations from being just from being a family member of people who've passed away in that situation, and also being a pastor. I've sat with people and prayed with people in hospice, and I feel like I'm comfortable and I would need a lot of training and education in that area, but that's, again, I feel like all of us have certain callings that we fill a space that is difficult for a period and then get out of the way and let someone else do it, right? And that was even being a pastor. Like I got out once I felt like I was getting a little like burnt out, get out of the way, let someone else be a pastor. Or I did, work with inner city kids, and I was starting to like discipline them, like get out of the way. Like that's not what you're here for, right? Like you find the space where you can be effective and not get burnt out.
Yeah. Once you've accomplished what you can accomplish without crumbling, it's probably a good time to move
And to
on.
be honest, 5-iron is a massive, amazing outlet for me. I need that. Like my husband says, I'm the best wife when I have 5-iron in my life. I need a reason to get dolled up and to get like on stage and get on my attention, because I am an attention freak. Like I like all that attention and rock stardom, and I'm into it. Let's do it.
That's one of the things for me is when I'm going to cons and stuff like that, to get that little thing of like, okay, I don't have to deal. You get the boost, and I'm like, I don't have to take all of your family problems or your issues or your struggles for the rest of the day. It's just like, okay, all right, great.
And for me, it's like mini retreats. It's like I have a hotel room and I relish in it. I got 2 beds and I've got one with all my clothes on it, just laying like trashed. I can be the trashed up mom, having coffee at 11 a.m. Don't have to meet at the lobby till 3. I'm chilling.
Has there been anything that you felt like this has, specifically your prison ministry, has taught you as a person and as a minister?
Gratitude. I mean, how many times do I have to hear people say, I don't like being in here, but I know that the Lord had a reason for it, before it finally sticks with me. Be grateful for the situation you find yourself in. Be patient for the situation you find yourself in, How can you not? I mean, I get like upset just thinking about it. When I first started, there's a drive. So if you live in Colorado, driving west is sacred because you see the mountains, right? And the prison is right up I-70, which is the road you go to the mountains on, the big ones. And so in the first 10 minutes of driving, number one, I recognize that I've gone further than most of those women will in years. The second thing I realize is I'm pointing west and I'm seeing the mountains and the whole view. The third thing, by the time that night hits and I'm tucking my kids in and kissing them and thinking of all the mothers and grandmothers I've been hanging out with that day, there's just no way. There's no way after that, the praying at night and the tucking in was different. How can it not be? And I try to hold that from my kids. I'm not going to let them know, like, what? I'm thinking about these people. It changes you. It changes you because you have.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
It's true though. It is true. Yeah.
You
But
had,
I do want to say one more thing. And
go, please.
it's sad to say. It is sad to say, but I have to say it because I don't want to make offenders out to be victims. It's a different situation. I do believe there are choices, and I do believe that society, yeah, some people are there, wrongly or too long, or the situation was terrible. But for a lot of them, they recognize that they have a victim or victims, and it's a chance to grow before they rejoin society. And so that is okay too. It's okay to recognize that people have made mistakes and are defined past their mistakes. But I'm not going to say that everybody there is just a total victim. So part of it is letting them know you are loved regardless. You are so loved. You are so worthy. You are so needed back in society. So let's get you on that path.
you're loved beyond your consequences.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So you'd also mentioned that your support raising to do this.
Hmm.
So how is that journey going for you?
um, it's going good right now, but that's the thing. This is a long-term career. So I do ask a lot of people to support me because I recognize people tithe. I kind of think of it like an urban missionary,
Yeah.
like a missionary where people give like 25 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks a month. That's the average in there. Um, and so I have to ask a lot of people, right, to get my paycheck. um, so it's going okay, but the end of the year is usually big one-time gifts, and I know that, and then taxes, big one-time gifts, and then end of the year, big one-time gifts. But what really helps is having monthly donors, and it's a tax write-off, and I work through it's called Urban Sky, and there's a handful of us that are doing very creative different ministries. All of us do different things, from writing curriculum to some people are counseling those that have left the sex trade, to a lot of life coaches. A cancer survivor is telling her story and becoming a public speaker. So all of us raise support to live out our calling. And it's a tax write-off for people, but you go to Urban Sky, SKYE.org, and you can read all the bios. They're fascinating, and then find people to donate to. And yeah, I'm one of them.
And I was a support-based minister for 9 or 10 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never easy, but
No.
I never saw God not be faithful either. And there's
Yeah.
been a lot of opportunities, like in my adult life in the last few years, where I'll have ministry opportunities present themselves, and then I'm like, I hear that it's support raised, and I'm like, and it's just like, I know God can do it, but I don't know that I want to do it. And like, there's stuff that
I know.
I've genuinely like not considered
Yeah.
because I don't want to make that effort. And so one, I applaud you for being faithful in what you're called to do. But just because you don't get a standard paycheck doesn't mean it's not blessed or set up for you to
Right.
do it. So, but Urban Sky with an E.org, and
Mm-hmm.
you can find more about supporting Leanor there with that. And I'll put links and stuff
Thank you.
on everything. So, I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for being a supporter. It was interesting when I was talking to the current chaplain, and I was like, I want your job. And she's like, I raise support. And I'm like, well, at least I know how to do it. Been there, done that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Still want her job. Well, thanks for interviewing me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all that you do with faith and fandom.
Well, you're very welcome. And thanks again. And everybody, we appreciate you. And you check out Urban Sky with an E.org to find
And
out
check
more.
out Five Iron Frenzy.
I used to listen to Five Iron Frenzy stickers and everything.
There you go.
I really did love the These Are Not My Pants sweatpants, by the way.
You
Those
need
that
some,
was
bro.
it's on my
Comfy.
list. Yep. All right. Thanks everybody.
All right. See ya.